Suns fans, you know what time it is in the PHX.
Empire of the Suns.
Phoenix Suns.
Empire of the Suns.
Hello there, and welcome to the Empire of the Suns podcast. My name is Kellan Olson, joined as always by Kevin Zimmerman. What's up, man?
Hi, it's been a little bit. Let's see, I was traveling.
What happened since we last podcasted? I went to Team USA in Vegas, which feels like, as your reaction shows, like 3 months ago, and I agree. I was out there for Team USA. You went on vacation, very deserved. I had a couple of days out of the office, and now we're here, and the Suns have another point guard again, and it's something we're going to talk about now.
Yeah, we should.
Basically, we were going to put a bow on free agency around this time, like we talked about last episode, like a couple of weeks, maybe a month later. And then look at the West. And what I'll start with on the West, for those of you looking for the big West overview, where do the Suns slot in, the kind of stuff that we love to talk about every offseason, we're waiting. There's a lot of Lowry Markkanen August 5th or August 6th talk, which is when he can start to negotiate an extension. Bruce Brown hasn't been traded yet. It seems like Cam Johnson should be traded too. He hasn't been traded yet. New Orleans surely isn't going to roll out that group together.
It's weird.
It seems like something is happening, and the league is waiting for that to happen. And when that happens, either that happens or it's in mid to late August. We're like, screw it, we'll just try and talk about the West the way we can. But we want to wait for everything to happen, because if Markkanen gets traded to Golden State, if Ingram gets traded to Houston or whatever, I just said a random team.
Golden State.
But we'll have that later on in the podcasting process. But a little birdie by the name of John Gambadoro reported on like Friday afternoon, if my timelines are correct here, during the show. Suns were looking around for a point guard. It emerges a day later that point guard is Tyus Jones. Suns get Tyus Jones on a minimum. And this is going to be a layered and complicated exercise of us talking. I understand that people could have read my piece or seen my thoughts on this and thought that I was being a wet blanket, which someone did call me, which, nothing new for me. If you've listened to this podcast long enough, you know, the Chicken Little thing I still love to this day. It's great. This is terrific value. But there's just a lot to talk about with it. It is not as simple as the Suns, and you may view it's as simple, and that's okay. We're just giving our opinions on it. Everyone can have their opinions on this. This is not like you're wrong if you think this is just a fantastic, excellent signing. We think that it's a good signing, and I think you're with me, right? That there's just a lot here that now was already here with the Suns, but now it becomes a lot more pronounced. It becomes a lot more expanded, inflated, whatever you want to say. But the bottom line is Tyus Jones is one of the 30, 40 best point guards in the league, maybe even a top 20 point guard in the league, depending on how high you want to get on him and what he does on the floor. The Suns got him. He is going to not fix their turnover problems on his own, but he is going to help with them big time. They are going to have more organization and structure now that they play through a traditional point guard. I don't think it's exclusively to do with him, but they're just going to have it. And that's valuable as well. But everything else, I don't know.
All right. You said layered. I think that's a really good way to put it. We can get this part out of the way quickly. Money, that layer, I think we didn't even, maybe we mentioned his name on this podcast in writing once or twice, if I'm guessing, because we just thought that guy's not going to be on a minimum. When you look at it, if we had thrown a salary guess out there, I probably would have said $8 million, $9 million a year, maybe 10 even, because I honestly think like he's, maybe not top 15, but he's a solid, you could say he's a starting point guard in this league for sure. And then when we got past the Monte Morris signing, he's still on the market. Even then it was like, okay, like he's got better opportunities elsewhere to make money at least. We won't go into like the weird why he didn't get paid thing, but I think you agree he's valued more than minimum easily.
He's worth at least $10 million a year.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. You are getting 16 to 24 minutes of good point guard play, and that is worth at least eight figures.
So, if they make promise of starting, that kind of makes up some of the money difference.
Gambo reported that he is expected to start. Tyus Jones releases a statement through Woj that says, I am, like, it doesn't say I am the starting point guard, end quote, but it is included in the statement about his excitement to come to Phoenix as their new starting point guard, which was that was why it existed, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I didn't even vet the other reports that I saw, like Atlanta and who was the other one? Memphis wanted him, and that's obviously those are two backup jobs with who's there right now. So, like, it all makes sense. What part do you want to get into? Because I can start next layer. What do you want?
I can start where I didn't write, which I'm going to write something later this offseason, I think. This is the official admission. I don't know. This seems to me like we did an oopsie with Bradley Beal, to me. I want to make sure and frame this correctly.
Okay.
I think that Bradley Beal is still going to be a very good basketball player for them next year. I thought that for everything that he went through last year, which again goes to his injury history, which he had history of before, that's why it's called history. It was there. We knew about it. We knew it was one of the pitfalls of acquiring him, the Suns acquiring him. And I want all of that said. When you trade for Bradley Beal like they did, you are committing long-term to a backcourt of him and Devin Booker. I don't know if I clearly, definedly stated this at any point, but it was just logic to me, because if you start a point guard next to them, then you're incredibly small. You're a really small team. Bradley Beal's not coming off the bench. Devin Booker's not coming off the bench. It's just not happening. Now, if Brad starts not playing well while he's healthy, and the team is playing really, really great without him, then okay, like, conversations can start to have. That never happened last year. So
he helped them win a couple games when he got,
Let's pause on that. And then there's the optics. Like, Jason Tatum started in the Olympics today. I wonder why. It's like, why? We don't just say these things like, he makes $50 million, he can't come off the bench. It's like, there are things. There's a reason why when Book didn't make the All-Star team like 6 years ago, he alluded to politics. It's like, there are things that happen behind the scenes all the time. And again, not saying Brad is the type to do that or wouldn't be okay with moving to the bench or that kind of thing. It's just a known thing in the league, and it has been for a long time. But now you are punting on, for at least a year, you are punting on a backcourt of Devin Booker and Bradley Beal together. This is why, the primary reason why I was against them getting a point guard is because, okay, if you get a point guard, now what? Now Bradley Beal has the ball even less in his hands. And I had the joking tweet, but it was serious, where it was a joke and it was serious at the same time. They asked him to be their point guard last year, and he was like, all right, and now they're going to ask him to be a 3-and-D wing. Mm-hmm. He is going to be the primary on-ball defender, I would assume, on Anthony Edwards. Maybe Jones will take like Ja Moran and De'Aaron Fox, like the smaller-ish point guards, but Ja is still like a big dude.
Yeah.
Like Shea is where Beal will factor in, like, he'll take Luka maybe, and maybe Durant will take Luka. This is where I'm going, which is you are putting Bradley Beal and what you're trying to get out of him, you're making it even harder on not only him, but the team as a whole to maximize what he does on the floor for the sake of getting a point guard, which is going to help you. But now the guy who has you handcuffed right now with where you're at as a team financially, like it's his situation. Like, let's put it for what it is. You're now lessening his impact even more. He is going to have a lot of nights where he takes like 7 or 8 shots. That was already a thing last year, but this year it's going to be even more pronounced. Does Tyus shoot the ball a lot? No. But you've got Tyus Jones going to run offense. He's going to run offense. So that is going to get the ball less in the hands of those 3 guys, but predominantly Beal. He's not the 4th option now, but he is an even lesser 3rd option now. And that is where revisionist history sorry, Kevin, because he had a great Jets tweet or something, like some pick from forever ago in the NFL draft.
Jonathan Ogden, something.
One of the best
Was that it?
offensive tackles of all time for the Baltimore Ravens. Shout out him.
Keyshawn, yeah.
But revisionist history here has to climb out, and you're like, man, it's obvious now they should have just kept Chris for a year. Like, they screwed that up. Like that was a mistake. And I did not feel that way until this signing happened, because I thought that they were going to go for it at least one more year with this backcourt and see if it could get done. That is not what they are going to do. I thought it was a bold, interesting experiment. I thought they could make it work. But after everything that happened last year, how much of last year do you want to attribute to coaching, lack of connectivity, Brad's injuries, all that kind of stuff, to it not working? And the decision that they made is, at least for a year, is that it's not going to work there.
Here's my counter.
I'm not saying, just to finish, I'm not saying that I agree or disagree with it, but it's just what's happened.
Yeah.
Now. Like
it's funky.
That trade can never be a success for the Suns anymore. Like, I'll go that far in saying it. Now, if they win a championship this year, I'm wrong. But I'm wrong because Bradley Beal is averaging, again, like 16 points per game, like 4 assists a game, and is just a glue guy out there, which is part of what he was going to be last year, I understand. But again, we are inflating and expanding on things from last year, and that is doing this. And a lot of people listening to this will be like, who cares? It's fair.
Here's my thing. What if we frame it? One, it's going to be hard to determine when the offense looks better than last year. Is this a Bud thing or is it a Tyus Jones thing?
Correct.
We can talk about that in a little bit because I think it's gonna be like, oh, they got a point guard, looks fine. It's like their coach got to them and they're doing different things and they're
actually running offense.
They're running offense.
It's going to be because they're actually running offense now. Is that because of Tyus or because of Bud? That's where we'll never know part.
So
goes.
here's my framing of, I don't know how much Tyus Jones changed the offense. Now defensively, I think there are a lot more concerns. He's going to get picked on. Your point about Beal being the 3-and-D guy, like we saw Book needed to do more on defense last year and he got worse at defense compared to the year before. That could happen to Bradley. But going back to the offense, I think you say, okay, what if Tyus Jones is in the Grayson Allen offensive role where Book and Beal still have the ball a lot. KD still has the ball a lot. Now, that's not every possession, but if things bog down, you at least have the guy on the floor, a la Chris Paul, who again, didn't even have the ball in his hands a lot in his last year with the Suns. And he says, okay, give me the ball. Let's run this set. That guy's important. I don't know if he's that personality. I need to kind of see that to believe it. But I don't necessarily think he has to be, give me the ball to bring up the court. I'm running the play to start. I think Beal can still initiate a lot. Book can initiate a lot. And there's still like the potential to have a Book and Beal and KD, obviously, three-headed monster without another guy bogging it down. So I think that potential's there. Again, that's going to be touch and go because then it is, like, I'm not saying that it's not a thing because it's another fourth ball handler that needs the ball to, in his way, impact the game. But I'm just saying, like, if Tyus Jones doesn't bring the ball up and they're just bombing on teams and doing well, that's fine and that's not going to cause problems.
That's a good point.
I think there's space where, again, offensively, Beal and Book still get enough touches with KD.
If I offered you a defensive rating right now, ranking, what do you want? If I offered you 21st, would you take it right now?
For the season? Mm-hmm. No, I think you can get 15 still.
You're still striving for top 15?
I think good coached basketball teams with smart basketball players can scrounge and get 15.
Okay. I think that it's a non-negotiable for this team to be top 3 in offense if they make top 6. If they want to make top 6 in the West and lock up a playoff spot, they have to be one of the 3 best offenses in the league now. I did not feel that way before. I feel it now. Mm-hmm. The other part of this, which is what I brought up in the column and what I tweeted about, was this moves Grayson to the bench. Grayson is now looking at maybe 25 minutes a game now. He played 34 last year. Eric Gordon leaves. You don't replace him, which is fine. You replace him with Damian Lee, sure. Gordon took 6 threes a game. Allen took over 6 a game, I believe, off the top of my head, and was the best three-point shooter in the league by percentage. You're playing that guy less. You're not playing Eric Gordon anymore. You're going to need more shot volume anywhere. You have capable shooters. I think, again, people misinterpreted. It's okay. It's complicated sometimes. Tyus is a good shooter. Monte is a good shooter. Grayson Allen is an excellent shooter. What happens is when guys take more threes, they become less accurate. It's pick and choose. Like a perfect example is like Aaron Wiggins last year for OKC shot 44% from 3 or something. Well, he took 1.5 a game. Like he was barely taking them. That doesn't mean that he's like every other 44% 3-point shooter. So you are without a shadow of a doubt, getting worse as a shooting team by doing this on volume and just making them in general. Because there are 144 minutes to go around at the 1, 2, and the 3. Please do not talk to me about Royce O'Neal playing the 4. This team is so tiny already. Like they're going to do it sometimes still, and I understand certain matchups fine, but my goodness. You're going to have, let's do the Bud thing. You're going to have Booker play 32 minutes a game. Guess what, Book? You're coming out with 3 minutes to go in the first now. No full quarters to you anymore. No. Brad's playing 30. You're at 62 minutes. Let's give Tyus 23. Is that enough?
Yeah.
That's 85 minutes.
By the way, Monte Morris is going to be pissed about this signing.
That's where we're going.
Yeah.
85 minutes. I've got 59 left for Royce O'Neal, Grayson Allen, and Monte Morris. Monte Morris signed 3 weeks before this under the presumption that he was going to play. Now, was he guaranteed something? How did those conversations go? Were you going to have to earn your spot? That kind of thing. Did the Suns know 3 weeks ago that Tyus Jones was going to be available at this time for this amount of money? Of course not. Or else they would have waited. They would have just waited for him. But it creates an awkward situation with Monte now and with him. But now I want to give Royce O'Neal 30 minutes a game. I just want to. I want to give him to at least 26. So now I've got 35 left, 33 left for those two. It's like, can Monte even play anymore? Mm-hmm. If he's playing 12 minutes a game, which sounds like nothing. Okay, now Grayson is playing 21.
Yeah.
That does not seem wise because this roster is now incredibly lopsided towards guard-sized players being their best players.
Yeah.
They've got Kevin Durant, who's really good. They've got Nurk, who is solid. And then they've got those 5 guys. They've got Brad, they've got Tyus, they've got Book, they've got Grayson, they got Royce. It just doesn't really work. And the counter here is, okay, well, you can trade Grayson in October. Now we're talking about making another really late move. We're trying to find some sort of continuity here, but is continuity even possible when you're going to run point guards for a year and then maybe not do point guards the year after that? Are you trading Royce in January now? Like, is that even the best move? What kind of wing is out there, presumably? Like, where's your 6'9" wing stopper out there that is going to be a better impact player than Grayson or Royce? Like, that becomes complicated. It's not just easy to say. So now you made a move that is forcing you to make another move. That's not the right way to think about these things ever, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Again, layers, inflating, expanding. It's just you're creating more things by filling in this point guard thing, and I just don't think it's as simple as need-filled, outstanding signing. There are just now more questions. We should not talk about this like we're just talking about the regular season. Let's think about the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Denver is a giant team. They have Nikola Jokic, Michael Porter Jr., and Aaron Gordon. Offensive rebounding would be a nightmare against that team for the Suns right now. You would need KD to have like maybe his best rebounding season of his career, basically, in that kind of matchup. You would need that level of KD rebounding. Nurk is the best defensive rebounder in the league, or at least was last year. He's going to help, but you need everyone else to rebound. Grayson, by the way, sneaky good rebounder last year. Was a sneaky good, I'm trying hard all the time guy,
yeah,
which wasn't a common thing on that team last year. OKC is smaller, but they've got J-Dub, who is
he's
a tank.
Built like a, yeah, he's a bowling ball with like his legs start.
Lou Dort is a tank. Aaron Wiggins is a tank. Shea is incredibly long for that size of a guard. Caruso is long. And then you've got, they're going to play Hartenstein and Holmgren together. Now, Chet is a version of KD in some senses physically, but he is a weak side rim protector and an offensive rebounding machine as well.
Yeah.
Minnesota, we just saw it. I don't think I need to explain it. Those are just the 3 best teams in the West right there. Like, you're zigging so much while the others are zagging that I'm struggling to see it.
You brought this up about 3-point shot volume, and this is not really related to rebounding, but do you think there's a chance that we see just like a team that we've never seen before and how they play as far as Bud style? Like, they're just going to have to space and fire only threes and
launch.
I think
the big 3 have to launch. I should add that. Like, they have to now. It's not.
We talked so much about the margins on the 3-point shots, and
it was
like
16 a game for those 3 combined. It has to be in the 20s now. It has to.
Yeah, and so this is why the draft was weird to me, because they didn't get shooters. They got a couple shooters in the point guard market and that kind of thing, but I think that's where I'm confused about looking at this team, is because like I think they have the best chance of doing well if they're just like an extreme something, and that extreme seems to be, based on roster construction, just firing away from threes. And hey, you three who are really good at offense, you guys get to take mid-range shots, but I want them to be good ones. I don't want it to be high post ISO unless like we're in the playoffs and like we're just down the stretch big play stuff. Like we're going to see something really dramatic, I think. And I just don't know if the roster's exactly built to do that. They have a couple pieces, but they're like one piece short of that, because if you say you're going to bomb from three, then again, you're giving up all the defensive stuff that Royce O'Neal and those types are going to give. That's where like looking at this team is super fascinating, though, I think.
Well, to your point, I think my main complaint, if you want to call it that, or criticism, if you want to call it that, is you just have to perfect it now a lot more. I felt like there was there just was more margin for error before. Now it's like, okay, you are this very fascinating, unique team where, okay, now you have to take 35 threes a game at least. Like you just have to your point. Can you get buy-in there? Can you optimize, I think is the right word. Can you optimize this properly? If you can optimize it properly, you can beat any of those teams I just mentioned.
Yeah.
Like if you're bombing, spacing the floor, playing even smaller sometimes just to run teams off the floor, you show a capability for maximizing the advantages that those small lineups create. Great.
Yeah.
But I've been talking about KD at the 5 ever since I got here. He got here. Like I've been talking about all these kinds of things. I just have extreme doubt on that kind of thing. And I think what this team is going to do is win a lot in the regular season while losing games because of the things that we just talked about.
Yeah.
Our biggest complaint about the defense last year, it would have been a top 10 defense in the league last year if it wasn't for just on-ball penetration. And again, and you just magnified that even further. I don't think there's a huge difference between Grayson and Brad as a defender, to be clear, but Tyus is 6'1". Like it's tough. And he's going to be on those. He's going to have to guard those guys. Like there's not going to be a pigeon for him to kind of glue on. And guess what? They're just going to hunt him anyway. Like they're going to bring him over. So it sucks because Tyus is a really good basketball player, and there are a lot of different situations here where our conversation would centralize around how good he is and what he's going to bring this team. But it's just the scales tip so much in so many different areas a little bit, and that whole effect is a lot more pronounced, I think, than people will realize. And again, these teams are huge, man. Like the Lakers are big. They've got AD, LeBron, and Rui. Like that's a big 3 guys right there. Like it's New Orleans is going to have whoever they play at center, Zion, and then one of those wings probably, or it's Ingram, and that's still a giant lineup. Like if you're matching up against New Orleans, it's going to have to be Brad guarding Zion again, which worked in the regular season. But again, we're talking about the playoffs.
And then Tyus is stuck on Mert. Yeah.
Sacramento, it's like, is Tyus supposed to guard De'Aaron? Because I think Brad has to guard DeRozan, or Kevin has to guard DeRozan.
Yeah.
The Warriors are a similar kind of thing with like Kuminga and Steph. It's like you need a powerful wing to stay in front of. So Kevin has to do that. And Kevin can do it and will do it. He did it last year. But you're asking a lot out of the guy. You're just asking a ton.
It puts pressure on the 3 stars still,
and that was
on defense.
That's where I was getting to. My last point is like it cannot be anywhere close to the defensive level of play that you got from those 3 guys last year. It has to be much better from all 3 guys. We lightly alluded to it. There was some like Kevin Durant should make all defense for stuff. And like there were moments and stretches of last year where he was really, really good defensively, but he also pretty much never ran back after turnovers. Like there were just a lot of examples of him being disconnected. And again, when there were those disagreements off the ball, a lot of them were involving him.
Yeah.
And eventually you're just like the common enough denominator there where it's like, okay, something is not getting connected or communicated or whatever. Like something is getting disconnected there. Book we talked about enough. Brad I thought was better in the second half of the year, but now he has to be good all year.
Yeah.
I thought he was fine against Ant. He has to be better than fine next year. So that's the whole thing. Again, don't mean to dampen the parade, don't mean to be the wet blanket, but that was the conversation we wanted to have today, because if you want to Reed here, the Tyus Jones is awesome conversation is one we will have later in the offseason or at the start of the year more so.
Yeah.
When we're looking at, okay, Bud is saying these things after practice. Book is saying we now know this is the idea of the team, but it's all in theory right now, so we'll see.
They have more competent players. That's one positive I'll say with that addition. Want to move on to Team USA?
Let's.
USA just beat South Sudan, not in an exhibition game, and by a score of 103 to 86. The starting lineup for USA after Jason Tatum didn't play, he was in there. He joined Steph, Book, and LeBron, along with Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is also new in there for Joel Embiid. And yeah, I mean, the game went pretty much as we foresaw. America was pretty connected. And Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, once again, to our point about like them finding roles and doing all the little things, like they're doing it this summer. That's why last year was weird, because they like had to and they struggled at points, but when they have a clear role, they're really good on it. What would Book have? 10 points, 6 assists?
He did. I'm really mad at my friend. He said you spelled Bam Adebayo wrong, so I got my Heat stand friend,
that's
Daniel,
my bad,
was like, you spelled Bam Adebayo wrong, so I went in the story and saw if I spelled Bam Adebayo wrong. I didn't, but he was more alluding to like Bam Adebayo was the story, and you spelled him wrong where you said like these guys are the glue for Team USA. So you should say Bam Adebayo because of how awesome he was.
So you actually went in and looked at it?
I got bamboozled for like 2 minutes.
Bam Monte-boozled.
While listening to you, multitasking, something I am capable of here around here from time to time.
Now I feel better.
I can do it.
Because I did it.
Game high 6 assists. Yeah, sigh of relief. We're both fine at our jobs. It's okay.
We're fine.
10 points today. Suns fans, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
Some people are not going to recognize the 10.6 assists. I mean, I think that's actually generally like better box score numbers than you'll see from him. Mm-hmm. But it's just he's gonna have nights where his stats don't look that good, or he was 2 for 7 in that last exhibition or something like that. There was a last exhibition where he didn't shoot the ball well, but it was maybe his best game in the exhibition circuit. Yeah. It's like, it's going to happen, people. Like, you don't need... I'm not going to tell people what they need and don't need, but it's like the affirmation you want to see from everyone saying Devin Booker shouldn't start and all this kind of stuff, you're just not going to get there, not in the situation, because he's not going to be able to score 35 points a night. Like, it's just not going to happen. You're just going to have to see what you want to see, which is what we're all seeing. And through 2 games, I think that if you had to rank their best players, I would say Book and Kevin are in the top 4. 4. LeBron turned the ball over a lot. Wasn't as good as he was in the other game. Bam and AD have been awesome. Drew and Derek White have been awesome. Ant's been really good. Steph has struggled defensively for sure. And then today he was 1 of 9. So when he doesn't shoot the ball well and he's getting hunted defensively, it's tough. But they've looked pretty good. I think that the only thing really stopping them is turnovers and offensive rebounding. They've been rebounding the ball so much better these last 2 games that I think that the first 2 games of Olympic play that I'm not concerned about that now. We'll see if Germany comes in and just tips the ball out 45 times like they did in the World Cup last year. Where I would be concerned is just turnovers, and LeBron's had 6 in each game. There was a slight surge for South Sudan at points in this game, and that was just coming from turnovers. That's all it was. When their defense was set, they had no shot. And I think that's going to continue to be the story. The ego politics thing is really interesting because Jason Tatum was the punching bag of social media on Sunday. I'm sure that he did not enjoy that. No one would enjoy that, but I'm sure that like the Boston Celtics did not appreciate that. And maybe they probably felt like that wouldn't have happened if you would have just played him 12 minutes. He's our guy. He's awesome at basketball. Play him.
Yeah.
He starts. He played fine today, but was he like heavily impacting the game like those other guys I mentioned? No, he just wasn't. And that's what happened in Tokyo. In Tokyo, he got his numbers up late in the game, which has happened for him from time to time. I think he had one game where I felt like he was legitimately good to really good in those Tokyo games when I was up at 4 a.m. watching those, which again, a lot of people coming in with Jason Tatum takes who weren't up at 4 a.m. I'm saying it's a prerequisite, but
it's not.
FIBA basketball is just different.
Yeah.
Like, is Jason Tatum a better starting lineup fit than Devin Booker on a traditional NBA basketball team? I guess we can debate it, but it's not debatable in FIBA because Book has just been phenomenal. Kerr said when I asked him in Vegas, and he followed up with like Book's the perfect FIBA guy. Just went on about shot attempts and how he fills in everywhere and does all this sort of stuff. So he's been great. I thought today he was really good. Nailed some shots when not when they needed them in the fourth quarter, but if he wouldn't have had the 7 points he did in like a 2-minute stretch, it could have been like an 8-point game and started to get a little weird. JT Thor hits another step back three, and you're like, oh no, what's going on here?
And the cool part about Book, like one, we've discussed this, but he's like a chameleon. He changes how he plays on this USA team.
Shout out Bam Adebayo for using that when I asked him about it, by the way. He used the phrase chameleon, and you can tell he's been awesome.
Yeah, and he did it in halves in this game because it was 5 assists in the first half when he was in the lineup. And basically, when you think about that lineup, he's kind of point Book. Like LeBron's generally the guy who's going to initiate a lot of this stuff, but he was there because Drew Holiday was not the point guard and Steph Curry's coming off screens and stuff. So he was very clearly in I'm making plays mode. There was even I think it was the first half, he kind of pushed the tempo in semi-transition, spun around, had like a literal 4-foot shot, that a mid-range that he would just always take. And he's just like, no, I'm going to dump it off. And I think I said like out loud, like, what are you doing? But that's just how his mindset was in that half. And then he goes and scores all 10 of his points in the second half. So just to show how much he kind of reads, obviously going into the game, knows the lineup, knows his role. He doesn't need to score. And then late in the game, he kind of had that flurry. A lot of his points in that flurry where they're just trying to like hold them off. So to me, that's why he's here, why Steve Kerr trusts him. It's also cool, like KD being, one, fine to come off the bench. Speaking of politics, the dude doesn't seem to care. He's just going to do the exact same thing and bomb away, which is cool. And even when it's like, how do you get Tatum minutes? And Steve Kerr literally mentioned Kevin had to play because he was coming back in that first game. Well, guess what? Kevin's still going to play in that same role, but I'm going to jump him with Jason Tatum, who didn't play at all. And I'm sure Steve Kerr's like, I'm worried about Tatum, not KD in this moment. Another sign.
KD will care if they lose, which is back to the conversation I had with him a month ago about the offense thing. We talked about it when the report came out on this podcast, and I said he's probably just pissed because they're running bad offense.
Yeah.
When he's standing in the corner, if they're running good offense when he's in the corner, he doesn't care.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what he said to me.
Yeah.
So like, look. Kevin Durant, he's on social media a million times. There's a million headlines about him. He's always talked about it. I understand that it can be weird sometimes, but just seems like a logically well-deducing human most of the time with this kind of stuff, from me getting to mildly know him over 2 years now.
Yeah. Any other Olympic thoughts? Kevin Durant is spending lots of time on social media during the downtime,
Seeing
which is
LeBron
funny.
do this at 39 is rad. It seems like Book is bicycling around and doing other stuff.
Meeting
he went to
Tim
skateboarding
Robinson
the other day. He met
on Zoom.
Eric Costin too. Is that how you pronounce it? I don't remember. But I was really like, I was one of those kids who got hit by the X Games and like skateboarding bug, like the Tony Hawk 900 and all that stuff was when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So that was really rad. Ant's been pretty good off the bench. I had some slight hesitations there with like a lesser role. It was like, oh, will he start and all that kind of stuff. But he's been great. He's doing defense.
He's like,
stuff too.
oh, I get to hang out with Kevin Durant. I'm cool. Just play hard defense. Like,
it's
you're
not
the
only reason he's there, but it seems like his primary motivation is like, I just want to play with Kevin Durant.
Yeah,
and
like
he's having the time of his life.
There are some possessions where it's like, move the ball, please. But like the defense is stellar. Like, you're fine with him. You work with him. He's the future of your team. Yeah.
I keep looking at my phone if you're watching this on video, just because we have to go in a couple of minutes. So we didn't talk Summer League at all because it happened. It was just getting started as we were podcasting. We went through all the stuff we talked about. We don't really have a ton of thoughts. The Ryan Dunn experience was what we expected, I guess. I would have liked to see more scoring off the dribble. Is he a scorer off the dribble? No. Is it Summer League? Yes, where he is by far the most talented guy on the floor in most of those games. Like, he should be scoring a little bit more. When he was going off the dribble, it was a mixed bag. The touch of the mid-range areas was not great, which is what we saw at Virginia. Slight hesitation on threes here and there. He was trying to shoot more than I thought he did at Virginia, but there was still the little hesitations here and there, and any little hesitations will get you a seat on the bench. The defense was incredible.
Yeah.
Oso was doing Oso things. Jalen Bridges was doing Jalen Bridges things. Just what we expected.
Jalen Bridges' shot gets off real fast. I like that. It's fun.
Do you think there's a non-zero chance he plays before Dunn?
I was thinking that. It's non-zero, yes.
Yes, I agree. And I think it's like more like 20, like 30. Like it's decent.
Yeah.
Like they're going to need wings, man. They don't. Kevin Durant is their only wing. If you want to call Kevin Durant a wing, Bol is not a wing. He is
He's a big.
He's in the same unicorn, whatever you want to call them, physically at least. Descriptor that they have. Royce is a wing, but he's sized of a guard.
Yeah.
That's the same player. Bridges is actually a wing. So we'll see. I don't know. But yeah, I didn't really have any other thoughts. Boo Buie really struggled at the start, which was a bummer because I big fan of him in college and thought he could really translate. He had better moments later on, but as a guy who could potentially get that next two-way, didn't really show it at Summer League, unfortunately. Quindary Weatherspoon, who I believe is on the Valley Suns roster, had like a crazy 17 points in 11 minutes stretch where it was like 27-year-old professional score. I can't remember if he's 27 or it was Isaiah Wong. I think it was Weatherspoon. Where
Wong's
it was like,
younger.
Yeah, you're like a 26 or a 25-year-old man. Like you're doing what you should be doing. I think that's it, bud. Anything else?
No, I'm good.
Again, we'll be back in. I think we'll be back at the end of the Olympics. Does that feel fair?
Yeah.
So that's in 2 weeks, and then hopefully by then that will be the second week of August. So perhaps there is things happening, but when there are things happening, we'll be back.